Saddle up your horses.
What is going on, everybody? I was debating between Pitter Patter and just starting over, and I just rolled them both together. How's everybody doing? It is Thursday. It is Thursday, and Jordan is just coming off of what was it? A game practice?
Yeah, two spring league games for basketball went straight over. So this is why we are starting late. So I apologize to everyone, but yeah, just had two games back to back and just sprinted over here. So
hey, but did you win? Did you win? Did you win, or did you split them both? Or did
we split them both.
Okay, all right. Well, at least you got a dub. It wasn't like you got swept in a way.
Yeah.
We have a great show lined up for you guys tonight. It's going to be a little bit different, but I think in the relative form of being kind of a quiet period for the Broncos. Obviously they are going to be going through OTAs, but you're going to be hearing basically the exact same stories from, for all intents and purposes, rookie minicamp, OTAs, and also training camp leading up to preseason. So it's going to be a little bit hard regurgitating the same kind of stuff here and there. So we're going to have a little bit of some fun. We're not going to talk about like the current state of the team, although there might be some things that get rolled into when you talk about the current state of the team. So we kind of figured that in the state of Denver sports, Jordan, that we would talk about what ifs. And I think that everybody likes to, for comedic sake and truthful sake, because it's true, I say this as a Bronco fan, and I'm sure you agree as a Bronco fan, that obviously the best what-if team that is on the market today is the Los Angeles Chargers. But we are going to be doing our what-if game because I think that every team in any sport will always deal with what-ifs. And I think that given about how catastrophic things have been with Denver sports, it seems kind of nice to maybe revisit things a little bit and maybe talk about some of the devastating moments in Broncos history that are what if scenarios, right? Like a what if scenarios of what could have gone differently. So it's gonna be a fun one. And then we are going to be doing something that is a bit of a fun exercise. So if we go long necessarily, I blame it on this just because we're going to have a lot of fun with this part. We are going to be building the best Broncos team all time. He will be formulating a roster, and I will be formulating a roster. Obviously, out of respect for making sure that the people are represented versus a rather landslide, because if it's going to be in air quotes a draft, we want to make sure that it's at least a competitive competition. So in essence, once we kind of get to the defensive form, we'll only do like one outside linebacker, one inside linebacker, one defensive lineman, one corner, and then obviously one safety. And it's the same thing too for the offensive side of the ball. We'll just do the ones, just pick one. And so we'll have that team. Jordan will have his team, and then I will have my team constructed, and we'll just kind of alter. And obviously the theme of this is whoever Jordan picks, I can't pick for my team. That's also kind of the cruddy part. So to put Jordan in his shoes, hypothetically, because he's a huge fan, if he was to say that Jerry Jeudy was the best wide receiver in Broncos history, and he picks Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, I can't select Jerry Jeudy as a member of the Denver Broncos at wide receiver. But before we dive into any of that, obviously the logistics of it all, hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page over there on YouTube, as well as the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel. And to make sure you follow the boys, follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez, and follow myself at Cameron Parker PO. And Brandon Miller is not here tonight, but make sure you follow him at Brandon Miller PO. He's actually having some family time with his grandma tonight. So kudos to, always keep your family first and above all else. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously we touched on your basketball stuff, but anything else? You doing good overall?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I had some summer plans change for some certain stuff. So just got to stick through it, and yeah, I'm doing fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, do we? I see we kick it off with about the easiest layup of a what if. Um, and and I will say, as far as the easiest layup, it's also one that is the current, if you will, what if of everything, because everybody has labeled this as what has been the most devastating between the Avalanche collapse against the Vegas Golden Knights of getting swept, and then you had the Nuggets just pitiful performance against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs this year. And then Bo Nix breaking his ankle, and a victory of the Buffalo Bills before they head off to the AFC Championship game. So I say all of this, Jordan, that it's like it feels if you're going to start things off with a current what if, what better one, even from a Broncos fan perspective or even a Denver sports fan perspective, of just saying, what if Bo Nix doesn't break his ankle?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's probably going to be number one for quite some bit until the next one, to be honest. And obviously, we hope nothing else happens in Broncos history, anything similar to that. But when you talk about biggest what ifs for Broncos, I mean that has to be number one because this team was coming off just such a extraordinary win against the Bills,
Yeah.
where when you were asking people if the Broncos were going to beat the Bills, how was it going to be like? It was everyone was going to say it had to be low scoring, had to be low scoring. Well, Bo Nix went out there and outdueled Josh Allen a 33-30 game, and then we're on top of the world. We look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and just 10 minutes after the game, we just everything goes downhill from there. So it is going to be the biggest what if for the Broncos in its history, and it sucks. It really does.
What's up, Victory Lap? We if we could be able to slide that one in, maybe we might do, because there's been obviously there. I will say this just real quick about one. There's a part of me that feels like this is that April Fool's joke all over again. Where when he was with the Broncos and he actually said he was getting traded on April Fool's. I think it was like to the Raiders or something. And yeah, and so it makes you wonder how much of it's believable. But the fact this is going on, frankly, since even when he was with the Bills, he enjoyed his time with the Bills. But if he talked about it, and he talked about like the Denver Broncos, he always referred to them as we. Right? He always referred to them as we. So, frankly, I'd say that him wanting to come home and actually be a Denver Bronco again, you could argue, is the moment he won a second championship with the Los Angeles Rams after that.
Yep.
So back to the Bo Nix, what if? I think the current state, it is definitely number one.
Yep.
I think the real question is where things are kind of shake up, like all time what ifs, because there's some relatively like big what ifs still, and I would say what ifs still, maybe depending on how you want to look at it from a current view, right? Like a current point of view, but it's just like the one that really kind of comes to mind is the one where Nathaniel Hackett was hired, right? The one where we traded for Russell Wilson, right? And there's a world where that particular what if, frankly, could go, because people always say like, well, it could go the opposite direction. Well, it could go the exact same direction, but with everything that we all expected, right? Because like when you kind of looked at where things were for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, and again, this is all what we've seen. We're basing it off of what we've seen. There was a world where even with Nathaniel Hackett in that building, and they did bring home Aaron Rodgers, then actually did it, right? Then possibly you're still having the exact same situation, with the Broncos. I don't know how likely that would have been, but there's at least a world where that was on that table.
Yeah, and I thought once we got Hackett, that means we landed Aaron Rodgers. But I think another what if in that scenario is, what if it was Stefanski instead of Hackett? Not Stefanski, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
What if it's Kevin O'Connell? I mean, he was in the last interview of his stage with the Broncos, and he was very, very high up in the Broncos list. So I don't know. There's still like theories about if we got Hackett, that for sure landed us Rodgers, and that's why we hired Hackett. I know that's still been a thing, but what if it's O'Connell? Things will get interesting.
I was talking with James Palmer when he was on our show, and he mentioned that from what he was gathering, it was not Dan Quinn who was number 2 in that head coaching search. It was Kevin O'Connell. And I do remember it was never like open as far as like what the actual rankings, if you will, the final rankings for, the job. Obviously Hackett was number 1, but it's never really released like who was 2, who was 3. But I do remember Kliss of that year when he came out and he said that there was one coach who really impressed the team and was a really fast riser, and it was Kevin O'Connell. I remember that specifically when that kind of came out. The other thing, if you want to kind of call it current a little bit, obviously where things have been sitting now, I am very thankful Sean Payton is our head coach, right? But I think another one that in the same kind of head coaching stuff in terms of that type of point of view, Jordan, is it was such a jammed pack, star-studded like head coaching interview process that year when they got Sean Payton.
Yep.
I do think that the Chargers will regularly be a 10-plus win team, because of Jim Harbaugh. And as much as, people do talk about his quirks, and he has some very bizarre quirks, there's no doubt. Jim Harbaugh does. He's still one of the best head coaches in the NFL. So I think that's one of the ones where I kind of have to ask. It's like, it begs a question of like, maybe the what if isn't so much would it have been on the opposite end of the spectrum, but how quickly would we have flipped that switch, just like we're seeing with Sean Payton, if it was Jim Harbaugh or if it was DeMeco Ryans? Because like if you look at kind of like that trio, that was, I think, everybody's favorite trio was, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and DeMeco Ryans.
Especially with DeMeco Ryans, because he was getting lots of love for the Broncos side of things. I mean,
and if I'm not mistaken, he badly wanted it originally, and then the home field stuff was really tugging at him. And how can you possibly say no when at that point?
Yeah, but that was a real thing. At one point, it looked like Ryans was the leader in that circle to get that Broncos job at one point. But yeah, I mean, that's also another good what if, especially currently. I mean, thank God we did get Sean, but things could be looking a lot different, especially at the quarterback position, because you never know if, Harbaugh drafts a Bo Nix. Maybe he goes up and gets his college quarterback and JJ McCarthy, and then we're in a whole nother scenario, and who knows even with DeMeco Ryans. So, that's a good current one as well. The one that sticks out to me and will stick out to anybody is, I mean, it's the play that no one likes to talk about, but what if Raheem Moore makes that play?
Yeah. What if? And it's one that, frankly, Speaking, this is crazy, and I like how you transition this because I don't, and I'm sure it wasn't intentional. That year was the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yes, it was actually.
you know, and because it was John Harbaugh, it was actually John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh, and that was the year where had the Denver Broncos beaten the Ravens, it would have been a pretty decent ride, I would say, to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think everybody talks about that, even as Bronco fans, that like the best team to not win a Super Bowl of those Manning years, or maybe even of the current Bronco structure, was the Peyton Manning year of 2012.
Well,
Where they were able to really, really be able to just do a lot of stuff. Like you got a chance to see how good the defense was still in 2012, even though it wasn't 2015 level or even in 2011 level. It's one where you kind of wonder what would have happened a little bit different. Do they actually win the Super Bowl there?
Yeah, I would like to say that roster was star-studded. That offense was,
And that was even pre-Welker too.
yeah. And I just that team was very, very good. And it sucks that they'll always end up as a what if in Broncos history, but it's like that. I mean, and I do believe that that team beats the 49ers pretty handily too.
Yeah. Because there's we don't need a sorry wide receiver in Michael Crabtree.
Yep.
Which that's another one, is obviously Aqib Talib wasn't the corner at that point. But obviously, if that doesn't happen, you're talking about a world where we don't have DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Aqib Talib, and obviously Wes Walker and Emmanuel Sanders, right? Obviously, Wes Walker was a little bit of a different, signing, but and a lot of that obviously kind of lends itself to Super Bowl 48. What could have been different, and kind of keeping it as we're kind of going backwards in time, Jordan. I'll kind of go up a year, and we'll talk about like Super Bowl, and we'll talk about that Super Bowl 48, which everybody likes to talk about.
Yeah.
And I reference it this way because this was moment I was starting to do Broncos content and everything, because I started out doing Predominantly Orange the year after they won Super Bowl 50. So it was 2016. And one of the things that I was talking to myself, and I was talking to some of my friends and even my parents, was just like, what is the first play going to be like in Super Bowl 50? Because that's one of the what ifs, right? Is like, what if they may not have won Super Bowl 48, but what if they didn't have the snap go over the head? What if Manny Ramirez did not snap the ball over the head? Would things have been a little bit different? And obviously there's a lot of things in that game that are qualified as what ifs, but as far as that being the first drive, it's one where could it have been a little bit different as far as settling down the nerves a little bit. And so to kind of go back to Super Bowl 50 a little bit, that's why the first play of Super Bowl 50, I was like, okay, what is this first play going to be? And of course, of all things, they put it in the hands of Peyton Manning, and he hits a strike to, I believe it was Owen Daniels, down the seam and down the middle of the field, for a first down, kind of giving me a bit of a headache there for the first play.
Yeah, I mean, that Super Bowl 48, I still remember watching that and seeing that ball being snapped over Payne's head, and I'm like, I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that offense to me is still the greatest offense still to exist. I mean, that offense was legit in every single way you can imagine. So it just sucks that Super Bowl ended up like that, and we had to start the game like that, because I truly do believe if we come out there and we just just a normal 3 and out, the game would have just been completely different.
Yeah.
Instead of safety.
And victory lap. That defense was pretty banged up. I mean, they even had some offensive players banged up. But yeah, I think that was the year where Clady was starting to kind of decline just a little bit. And I think that was the year where he missed time because of his ACL injury. Vaughn actually, too, I think had that ACL injury. I think it was the Texans game where he walked off the field. And myself and probably everybody's just like, oh, he walked off the field, and all of a sudden the news breaks, that he tears his ACL, in that game, and so I think that there's just a lot of things. Derek Wolfe even I think missed that game as well, so they were missing some pretty big pieces, of that the Super Bowl 48 team.
Yeah.
Well, so obviously I know you're a younger Bronco fan, but as you kind of look at some of the stuff over the years, as we're kind of going backwards, what are some of the other stuff for you that kind of stands out?
One that I always kind of go about in my head is, how about if the Broncos would have hired Kyle Shanahan as the head coach?
Yeah. Obviously we won't know that answer until someone actually has a face-to-face and a public comment, meaning John Elway has a public comment about that. But, it seemed like it was Vance Johnson, but Vance Joseph's, team to lose from the start, because it came from the word of Gary Kubiak. Obviously Wade Phillips had been with the team, who had been with Gary Kubiak. Wade Phillips obviously had been with the Broncos as well, as much as Kubiak. So it just seemed like things were heading in a direction that was, it seemed like it was Joseph's job to lose. I think the part of it too, for me, and this isn't just a Kyle Shanahan thing, Jordan, but if there was one of the things that I would have loved Elway to have done differently, is cast a wide net in that search.
Yeah,
because it was Dave Toub, the legendary special teams coordinator with the Chiefs, Vance Joseph, and Kyle Shanahan. Those were the three, and that's all he was rolling with, in that interview process. And so I think that's another one where it's just like Kyle Shanahan may not have won, but it's another for me that's just like, I don't know, extend it a little bit. And I think that at that point, when he was starting to kind of interview candidates like for Vic Fangio and everything, that's where it was just like you saw a little bit more of a wider net being cast when it came to that.
Yeah. I get things were different back then. I mean, I think if it was now, I think you would kind of be forced to have a wider net just by like pure public pressure, just everybody having their guy, and you want to collect as much information as you want. I think back then if you wanted a guy, you just wanted to get him. But yeah, I always think about that. If we get Kyle Shanahan, how different do the Broncos look in that era and stuff. It's fat, because you would think you would hire the son of Mike Shanahan. You would think.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
So this isn't exactly, well, I guess it depends on what your point of view would have been. But this is an interesting one, and his name I'm sure will be brought up here later tonight. But one of the few times that we've actually ever seen it happen is a player for player trade. And it was a trade of Clinton Portis for Champ Bailey. Let's just say the Broncos don't do the trade at all, right? Like, let's just say the Broncos don't do the trade at all. There is an actual world where Champ Bailey is still a Hall of Famer, right? Yeah. Like, he is still a Hall of Famer, because if you go back and you look at his stats and his performance with the Washington Redskins at the time, he was playing the same level of ball that he did
Yeah.
with the Denver Broncos before that, right? And then Portis was the exact same way to a degree. He was beginning his career, and frankly, the what if that I have to ask Jordan is obviously not just the fact that he went to the U and he destroyed Nebraska in the Natty. That's beside the point. But what if the trade didn't happen? What I'm trying to say is I think there's a very real conversation. I think there is a conversation, but I don't think it's as big. But what if, like for me, it's like, well, what if Clinton Portis stayed? There's a world where we are talking about Clinton Portis being the best running back in Broncos history that is not Terrell Davis.
I mean, you for sure have a point. Obviously, I'm a big Clinton Portis fan just because of
Where'd he go?
You
went to the U.
Yeah, so obviously I have my ties with him, but I'm not gonna lie. The one that got me into Broncos football is Champ Bailey. So
ironically enough, not a.
Yeah, so it was him in that defense and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that is a good what if when you actually really think about it and dive deep into it. And like the last one I really think of when it comes to what ifs, and like it's been talked about even still to this day. But what if the Broncos drafted Josh Allen and not Bradley Chubb? Would he have still been the same here in Denver, how he is in Buffalo? Would the fans would have given up on him? Like
we talked about ad nauseum.
Yeah, there's just so many. Like it's that big what if, and like there's so many layers below it that go into it. So that's kind of my last one.
Mike mentions, what if Elway played another year? So obviously, you weren't even born.
You're right.
But a lot of people, actually, I think Alfred Williams has been on record about this. But like Alfred Williams, I think mentioned that like he wasn't even sure if Elway was going to even retire, if I'm not mistaken. And so when he retired, it just kind of surprised him a little bit because he was ready. Like he was ready to go run through a wall and win a third Super Bowl. And I think even if some of the people expected it, that he was going to retire, I think a lot of people would tell you that they felt like the Broncos would have been one of those shortlist teams, these shortlist teams that they could have done a three-peat. They could have done a three-peat, and it does make you wonder because the team was pretty much intact. That roster was really intact, and so it's just one of those other what ifs, if you will. So yeah, there's a lot of what ifs. Obviously, as we said earlier, the Los Angeles Chargers are the kings and queens of the what ifs type of scenario. But we would be remiss if we're not at least objective, saying that every single team in its history, in some shape or form, has a what if.
Yeah.
In some shape or form. So let's kind of jump into, and we'll bring in some of the what ifs. But I guess to Mark's point here, you could talk about it collegiately, and this is also a Jarrett Stidham thing. This is crazy. Went to Auburn when Bo Nix was at Auburn, and I still can't believe we let him go to Oregon. So my what if on that one would have been, well, does Jarrett Stidham transfer? Does Jarrett Stidham transfer? Because he was the starter, Bo Nix's freshman year, and obviously Bo played freshman year at Auburn. It went toe to toe with Justin Herbert and beat him, if I'm not mistaken, in the bowl game. But yeah, what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't go to Oregon and he just stays with Auburn? what would have been different on that one? Do you have any others, or did you want to jump right into the?
I want to jump into this all-time team because I think I'm gonna have a better team than you.
Oh, you think you're gonna have a better team?
Yeah.
Well, just because I'm giving you the number 1 overall pick doesn't mean that I'm going to be having or that you'll always be having the number 1 pick for every single one of these. So I'm just saying.
All right.
So for anybody that is just tuning in, we're doing what ifs, and we are going to be building the best Broncos team of all time. And so the way we're going to do it is on the defensive side of the ball, because things are kind of clustered together a little bit, is we'll have an outside linebacker, inside linebacker, a defensive lineman, a cornerback, and safety. And that's just out of retrospect, because there's a pretty large world, if you will, if we did this and we had 2 each, for picking 2, there's a large world where, someone might get stuck with, 2 of the players and stuff like that. So this is just out of respect, if you will. So it's just kind of putting it to where we actually are paying homage, if you will, to some of the top ones, if you will, on each team. And then what we'll do is actually, because you said you think that your team will be better than mine. Maybe what we'll do, and I talked to Josh Sherman, who does. We'll see if we can do maybe like a graphic of some kind, and we'll list our lineups, and then we'll do a poll of which team is beating, said team. So
I like it.
You get the first pick, which means you lead off with the quarterback.
All right, so quarterback. Doing quarterbacks. All right. So I would be remiss if I don't take the guy that's literally right over my shoulder and probably was the reason why I fell in love as well. So I'm going to be picking my guy, the Sheriff, for my quarterback. Which, by the way, we can't go wrong with these quarterbacks. So we're just gonna split here, to be honest.
Yeah. So this is also one where, if someone was born, in the late 2000s, are they picking Bo Nix?
I mean, they might.
Because, like, objectively, Bo Nix, I think is the Broncos' 3rd best quarterback in team history, which is wild to say, after, such a short career. But I don't foresee any of us picking Bo Nix. That is, unless you're, born in like the late 2000s.
My godson's gonna pick Bo Nix.
I was gonna say, I will go with the Duke. You went Sheriff. I'll go with the Duke. I will go with John Elway.
I could have sworn you were gonna go Kyle Orton.
I was actually debating between Drew Lock, actually. Drew Lock and oh gosh, Bubby Brister.
By the way, I did like Kyle Orton in his time here. I do remember him, and I actually used to love playing with him on Madden. I'm not gonna lie, when I was little.
Speaking of what ifs, if that ball is not deflected, we don't have one of the best calls of all time. With Gus Johnson, which, by the way, can we please get Gus Johnson back on an NFL broadcast?
Yeah, he's so. I think he's probably the best college guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely one where I'm definitely curious. How that would have gone down, because obviously we're not going to get the famous Stokely down the sideline. But all right. So for me, I went the Duke, and that's just because a lot of people, even if smartly, I think there's a difference for me because, like, obviously Peyton Manning's my favorite quarterback, Broncos history. But that does not necessarily mean he's the best quarterback in Broncos history, right?
Correct.
But I think for me, it is. He is, like, Manning's my favorite. I think he's the best quarterback. But retrospect to this, you still can't go wrong. We're going with John Elway. He's a multiple Super Bowl champion. So we're gonna roll with that. We're gonna go with the Duke, and so we'll just kind of like do it so where we just kind of like, is that a snake?
Yeah.
Just like a typical draft, we'll go snake, and we're gonna reunite John Elway and his running back companion.
All right.
And so we're gonna go with the Mile High Salute. We're going to go with Terrell Davis, who is, in fact, right here.
Here we go.
So we're going to go with Terrell Davis at running back.
All right. So it looks like I'm going to just take my guy and
the U.
I'm going to go with my UM guy. I'm going to stick with Clinton Portis, and I'm going to have Peyton Manning handing him the ball. Imagine that.
I think there's and this kind of goes back to our conversation, Jordan, of like, I think there's a very real discussion probably that Portis might actually be number 2. But I think that what kind of really carries it is, Floyd Little, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And and so it's and the running back position in general, like the running back position in general, the Broncos have had some really, really good success with the running back position. Some obviously, aren't of the Hall of Fame quality of Terrell Davis and, Floyd Little or even the career necessarily, right? Like, as a career necessarily. So, because I mean, obviously I know he went to the U, but I do believe that Willis McGahee is also considered one of the more underappreciated running backs in Broncos history, along with a guy who was hated on in the beginning part of his career, who's 6th all-time in rushing yards, and that is Noshawn Moreno. I think that Willis McGahee and Moreno are kind of clumped together as far as being 2 of the top underrated running backs in Broncos history.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
So you're going Clinton. Now, are you going to do this to me?
You were going with wide receivers, right?
You're gonna rip my heart out with a spoon?
Well, I got to. I just can't. Actually,
are you gonna be a troll? Are you actually gonna?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. But I know. I know who you want and stuff like that.
You don't need to. You don't need to, though. You don't need to do it to appease the boss.
Well, I'm gonna do it anyway, just because I love you, Cam. My first wide receiver that I'm gonna take is gonna be Rod Smith.
He is a lot. It's kind of the reverse of what we did with quarterback, because it's like a lot of people consider.
Can you pick 2 wide receivers?
Are you saying? Are you?
I really want to pick this guy, and I'm not talking about him. I'm not gonna pick him. I'm not. I'm thinking about somebody else. I actually very much do love.
Okay. Out of respect for the exercise,
I just gave you your guy. I mean, just let's pick one more wide receiver.
It's okay. Okay. All right. Out of respect, we'll do it. We'll do 2. So you go with Rod Smith, and then I'll go Demarius.
There you go.
And then obviously I know we said that we were doing Snake, but your lead in, if you will, was clearly superior. So I might as well just kind of give this to you. Because like you went and you picked the wide receiver, which meant that I picked, which means it's a Snake.
I'm going to go with my second wide receiver, which I don't know if it's going to be a big surprise to a lot of people, but
of your age range, if you will.
yeah. I actually have two in mind, but I'm going to pick one because of the name value. But my second wide receiver is going to be Brandon Marshall. Love me some Brandon Marshall.
Don't want to say it's a curveball, but when I was doing an article way back, I want to say it was like 2018, 2019. There's also a conversation about, not two necessarily, but like there's a conversation probably that like you want, and also you want to talk about what ifs. You know, what if Brandon Marshall wasn't actually a head case in the sense, and and he wasn't traded, by Josh McDaniels. You know what I mean? So like, if he's not traded, do you really need to draft Demaryius Thomas at that point?
That'd be a crazy what if.
Because so what I'm trying to say is like there's actual like, it makes you wonder if they let Brandon Marshall develop and not trade him, he might be the third wide receiver in Broncos history, or second wide receiver in Broncos history, because that was pre Demaryius.
Yep.
Okay.
Who's your second?
So for my second, so do some quick.
I don't think you're gonna take him, but I'm gonna say his name because he was my favorite.
Manuel?
No, Eric Decker. Bro, I loved watching Eric Decker play football. I thought he was so underrated.
Let's see here, because I'm debating. I'm going to say Lionel Taylor.
Okay, so we both have two old school guys on our team. I like that. Like I was paying homage to the past.
I'm going to go Lionel Taylor because like that's the thing too, is like there's a lot to choose from, and Lionel, like of receiving yards, I believe he's 4-3 in terms of wide receivers in Broncos history as far as receiving yards. So I'm going to go Lionel Taylor. So you have Demaryius and Lionel Taylor as those two wide receivers. And obviously I'm in my late 30s, and I grew up as far as when I was really into football, like as far as like really into it I was starting to understand the game a little bit more, was from that 2010 and on, or maybe even like the early, like the late 2000s and on was really starting to kind of click for me. But I how can you not pick Lionel Taylor, if you will? I mean, like, cause you're picking a guy who's, top 4 in receiving yards and stuff. So yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. Cause so that kind of leads us to the conversation. What's up, Rod? That kind of leads us to the conversation too, of like, cause we talked about underrated wide receivers and in Broncos history as far as running backs. Like we mentioned Moreno, we mentioned and Willis McGahee. There frankly is a long list of wide receivers I think that you could probably talk about. Like I don't like, so like the thing is, like, I don't know if I would say Emmanuel Sanders is underrated, but I think when you talk about him in the vein of the greats, like a DT, Lionel, Rod Smith, you know, where you could kind of see it as like the Brandon Marshall, probably. But Emmanuel Sanders, right? Like Emmanuel Sanders, is one. Eric Decker, I think, actually is one.
Boy.
I mean, he was the only person. I mean, it was Ed McCaffrey, who's another one of those, like Ed McCaffrey, where he wore 87 and he had the blessing of wearing 87. Not the dog on the guy because we're doing the best all-time roster, but I still remember the Turf Monster incident. But I remember the Turf Monster incident, and I also remember him catching literally the only balls from Tim Tebow in the Kansas City Chiefs game, where they dog walked Kansas City in that Tebow game. And even though Tebow only had he had a couple touchdowns, but he also was really inaccurate in that Chiefs game, like really inaccurate.
Yeah.
So,
left tackle or right tackle first?
No, we're gonna keep the trend of tight end.
Oh, tight end. I forgot tight end.
So I went with Lionel Taylor. Do you want me to go or?
Yeah, you can get this one.
Well, we are gonna go with the Unk, the guy who can't keep his mouth shut. Because President, we are killing the Patriots. We're gonna go with Shannon Sharp, the guy who would always put Skip Baseless in a corner.
Yep, got that right. All right, so this puts me in a little bit of predicament because I have obviously one in mind, without a doubt, because I watched them a lot. And
Owen Daniels?
Not Owen Daniels, but I do appreciate his efforts. But I am gonna go with him. Yeah, I was gonna go with an old school guy, but
no way, you're actually gonna go with Owen Daniels.
No. I was gonna go with an old school guy, but I'm gonna go a guy that I watched a lot, especially during those prime years of Peyton Manning. I'm gonna go with his tight end. I'm gonna reunite him with Peyton Manning. I'm gonna go Julius Thomas.
Julius Thomas. I will say, that was one of the very rare cases of in fantasy that year that they had all we talked about it, like their offensive output. That was one of the rare cases where it's okay to have multiple players that were Broncos on your football team. And
double-digit touchdown seasons. I think 13 and 14.
Yeah. I don't know. My dad is watching the stream tonight, but he'll tell you that there was that year. I had Peyton, DT, and Julius.
You had to have won the whole thing.
I did, but it was just. But Julius was like my wild card because it was like I was from Colorado, and there were a lot of people who were in our family friends league at that time where they're kind of out of state, and so they weren't hearing as much of the Julius Thomas legs that I was hearing, and so it was one where I was able to snag him, and then he became a demon that year. And so, yeah. Okay. Now that leads us to the left tackle. And one of the reasons for this conversation, Jordan, was shout out to a late happy birthday to Garrett Bowles, who is continuing to reach UNC status at left tackle. But more importantly, I had tweeted, and it was a pretty decent interaction, where I asked, and I even actually said this in our PO chat, which you never saw or never even commented.
That's unfortunately true.
But I asked a question, and I'm curious what the people in the chat are thinking about this. Where does Garrett Bowles rank all time? And are you or I going to pick him for this left tackle spot? Because I think that, the more you talk about him and the trend that he's on, there's a world he finishes as the best tackle in Broncos history. The question is, with what the exercise we're doing now, is he the best
Well, we're gonna learn now because since I have this first pick for left tackle, I'm gonna make the decision and make it easy. So we're gonna learn a lot about you, Cam. So with my left tackle spot, I'm gonna go with Gary Zimmerman,
Respect.
who I think is the best left tackle.
In Broncos history.
Yeah. Now, since you have the second pick, are you gonna take Garrett Bowles?
That is the biggest dicey one, right? Like
Yeah.
that is the biggest dicey one because, like I said, the more you talk about him and the way his trend is up, like really up right now,
He's gonna be up there. He is.
There's a chance he finishes as the best tackle in Broncos history. But because of that, the current state is, well, if we're having this conversation, man. And by the way, this is no disrespect. Like if we're not choosing a certain player or whatever, this is no disrespect to any of those guys that are being passed on. We appreciate everything they did in Broncos history. So it's tough because so you went Gary Zimmerman, which, by the way, a large reason why I think Gary Zimmerman is wildly considered the best left tackle in Broncos history is because those 1990s or mid 1990s Broncos offensive linemen, when people talk about the poster child for the best offensive line in NFL history, they're on the very short list. So, for all intents and purposes, I won't be having Gary Zimmerman at left tackle, but you and or I will probably have a couple players that are on that offensive line that are going to be listed here. Maybe I'm just going to wait and see how it plays out just based on the career right now for Bowles. Even though I said what I said. But I'm going to say Ryan Clady.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why, by the way, the reason why I also wasn't going to go with like a Tony Jones or oh gosh, who was the other one? There's another tackle who was really versatile. But the reason why I want to go with like a Tony Jones is because they're versatile, right? Like it's a left tackle, right tackle, right? And so it's one where that's great. Like it's really hard to argue a Swiss Army knife type of player like that, but a left tackle, right tackle, yeah. If we want a pure left tackle, that would have been Ryan Clady. That would have been Garrett Bowles. That would have been probably a Gary Zimmerman. So I'm going to go with Ryan Clady, who we will see if Cage Casey is going to be another one of those long line Bronco to Bronco, good players over the years. Man.
So now you got left guard, right? Or are you doing right tackle?
I have left guard. Let's see. Best guard. Man, am I going to do it? I'm going to go stink.
I figured you were going to go there.
Well, because, we need some attitude. We need someone to piss his pants to intimidate, the other team over there on the defensive line. So we need to, we need that kind of attitude. So we'll go with stink as the guard.
All right. Well, I am going to get another Super Bowl champ and of course, a Broncos Ring of Fame member. And I'm going to put at left guard Tom Nathan.
He's another good one. He's another good one. I think those are one of the two. Is you have Tom Nalen, and Mark Schlereth. Now center.
Yeah, and it just seems like I'm just recreating the offensive line from those Super Bowl years.
Both, yeah.
So I'm gonna get his teammate who also won those 2 Super Bowls with, and I'm gonna go with Dan Neal.
Dan Neal, okay. Best Broncos centers. By the way, just so you know, Tom Nalen is considered a center.
Really?
I'm not saying that I'm giving you the opportunity to change your pick, but Tom Nalen is considered a center.
He never played guard?
When you call up the best centers of Broncos history, Tom Nalen is number one.
Really?
And he was the center on those back-to-back Super Bowl teams.
Actually, you're right. All right, so wait, he's going to be my center.
You already had the center pick anyway.
Huh?
You had the center pick anyway.
So wait, did Dan Neal play guard then? Did I get them mixed up? Oh, I did get them mixed up. Dan Neal played guard. So let me switch that.
I was wondering because I was looking at the guards and I'm looking at Dan Neal being listed on the guards and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I completely had them mixed up with their positions. We are talking about the all-time Denver Broncos. I'm drafting my team. Cam is drafting his team. I will lose to mine. And but yeah, I'll be making that switch.
Actually, Dan Neal is not considered on this list as far as guards. Anyway, I'll respect it.
Bulldog.
It's because they list the top 3. All right. So we are at the center for. Oh, so you went Dan Neal.
Dan Neal and Tom Nathan.
Yeah, Dan Neal and then Tom Nalen. Now this one's tricky. Because this is one where I could show my side a little bit here. Has there really been a second best center in Broncos history? Like when you kind of look at it, has there really kind of been a second best center?
I mean, besides Alex Forsythe, no.
Because I'll go with Matt Paradis.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because that's the one that I was kind of wondering is like.
Okay, so you're going with someone more recent. I like that.
Dan Neal is a right guard. They listed Dan Neal as a right guard.
Oh, I just saw guard. He could play both. He's versatile enough.
Yeah.
I just searched up guards. I'm not gonna lie. They
actually listed Louis Vasquez in here. Well,
Who's your other guard now? Because I have one in mind, and it might shock people.
we're gonna add him in here.
Who are you taking?
Rub your belly.
Damn it. Damn it.
We're gonna go Quinn Miners at right guard. The only part of it for me with Louis was it was kind of up and down, if I'm not mistaken. BK, correct me if I'm wrong. Like it still felt kind of up and down. And also too, like they signed Ronald Leary to be that, and he ended up not being that either. But I'm gonna go Quinn Miners on that. Louis Vasquez is definitely up there though, as far as right guards.
And guess what? Since he's not selected, I'll go with him.
Louis Vasquez. So Louis Vasquez at right guard. Now you get the pick of the litter.
So right tackle. I'm going to stick with my roots. And since this is a hypothetical team, injuries are turned off. And
injuries are turned off.
And I will be selecting the guy out of the U. Former second round pick, I should say. Orlando Franklin. Which I think Orlando Franklin still gets too much. I don't want to say slack, but I think he's a very maybe controversial guy, and I don't think he is. So I got to take my guy out of the U. So
you went with Orlando Franklin.
I did.
I will go. Matt Lepsis.
All right, that was another guy I was debating.
Is Matt Lepsis. And then do you want fullback? I want fullback.
You can do fullback first.
Well, this is going to test your creativity.
I have one in mind because he's still my favorite.
But this is going to test your creativity.
If you pick him, I swear.
Because I'm going to go Howard Griffith.
Okay. I have heard of him, but you did not take my guy.
But that's what I'm saying. Is this going to be the creative one, which I think I have an idea, but is it going to be a creative one who was a Swiss Army knife, was on the Madden cover?
No. It's actually going to be my guy.
Or are you thinking about my guy, the one who would crack a lot of skulls in practice and then take a fullback trap against the Carolina Panthers in the week 1 regular season?
Is his name Andy Janovich?
That's right. Go Big Red. Go Big Red.
That's my guy. Love him. I'll be taking him as my fullback.
You know what? Not that, you weren't already high on my book, but you just vaulted about 7 notches.
When I think of fullbacks, I'm not going to lie, I always think of Andy Janovich.
Love Jano. If I could have 22 Janos,
we win the Super Bowl.
We win the Super Bowl.
So that's the offense, right?
So that is the offense. So for anybody that's just tuning in, we are doing best all-time rosters, and we just wrapped up the offense. Jordan, Peyton, Clinton Portis. We did do we did do two wide receivers. And so Jordan went with Rod Smith and B. Marsh, Brandon Marshall. Tight end was Julius Thomas. And then Gary Zimmerman, Dan Neal, Tom Nalen, Luis Vasquez, Orlando Franklin, and Andy Janovich. And then myself was John Elway, Terrell Davis, Demarius Thomas, Lionel Taylor, Shannon Sharp, Ryan Clady, Mark Schlereth, Matt Paradis, Quinn Miners, Matt Lepsis, and Howard Griffith. That is the offense. We actually it might be neck and neck on this.
I like it.
As far as some people that might like it. Now, the defense is tricky because like the way we did is like there's less positions maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but rightfully so because it is hard.
I mean, we could probably feel free to kind of stretch it a little bit, I guess. To have them like back, because that's the part of it for me. Like when we're having the conversation, like before in the green room, it was like, well, you can't just have one pass rusher. You have to have a second one, right? And so like you have bookends. And so for corner, that's where it kind of got dicey is because it was just that's where I kind of was like, well, it kind of gets dicey once you start talking about corner, because like there's Champ Bailey, right, who really leads off with it, and then you kind of like, well, what? Because like there's a Chris Harris Jr. argument, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm going to be having Chris Harris Jr. on my team, am I really going to be having him as the second all? Like, am I actually going to be doing like the second corner for Chris Harris Jr.? I don't think so. I probably would rather have him be the best nickel corner, best like slot corner.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets kind of dicey a little bit on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit. So maybe what we do is maybe we do two each on outside linebacker for like the pass rushers, if you will, just for respect on that. But like inside linebacker, maybe. I don't know. Well, let's kind of play it by ear on that one. All right. So do you want to start first on defense?
Did I start first for quarterback?
You did start first with quarterback.
You can get the first for defense.
Well, we mentioned his name right on the broadcast, right there on actually due to a YouTube comment. We will see if he comes home. But we are going to roll with 58. Now, if he comes back to Denver, we'll see if he actually wears 58. But we are going to roll with Von Miller with that. So Von Miller would be my first of those outside linebacker, if you will, outside linebacker pass rushers is how I'm designating that for people that are wondering.
All right, I like that. My edge rusher by the way, I don't know if people know this, but he is from Miami. Did not go to UM, but he's from Miami. So I'll be going with the Miami native. And I don't know if it's an unpopular pick or not, but I'm going to be going with Elvis Dumervil.
Wow, I didn't think you'd do it.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about another guy who is pretty underrated a little bit. Because like when people talk about like some of those like the best pass rushers, they talk about some of those greats, but they don't talk about Elvis Dumervil.
Elvis Dumervil.
Any people who are short and are successful in this league, I will take it.
Now we're doing two edges?
I think so, yeah. That's
all right.
Yeah. Because the Broncos edge room is pretty deep over the years.
Okay. So now that I can double dip on my edges, my other edge is going to be Vaughn's running mate and DeMarcus Ware.
Okay.
I got Dumervil and Ware coming off the edge. Oh.
Okay. So you have Ware and Doomerville, and I'm going to go with Simon Fletcher.
Okay.
He actually held the franchise record for most career sacks. Paul, he had this man. That's 3 commercials to see. Man, that's great. That's the one gripe sometimes about YouTube. Sometimes is those ads. Just when you think you're done, here out pops another ad. So Paul, since you're first in here, and as far as that was your first comment, we're doing the best Broncos offense. We just wrapped up the best Broncos offense of all time. He picked a roster, I picked a roster, and then now we are doing, and so now we are doing defense. And so since you're here, Paul. Offense, Jordan went with Peyton Manning, Clinton Portis, Rod Smith, Brandon Marshall, Julius Thomas, Gary Zimmerman, Dan Neal, Tom Nalen, Louis Vasquez, Orlando Franklin, Andy Janovich. And I went with John Elway, Terrell Davis, reuniting them, Demaryius Thomas, Lionel Taylor, Shannon Sharp, Ryan Clady, Mark Schlereth, Matt Paradis, Quinn Miners, Matt Lepsis, and Howard Griffith. And then I led off with Von Miller and Jordan just did Elvis Doomerville Hydrofax machines.
Talk about what if.
I was interning at 104.3 The Fan when all that went down. So the very, very, very successful Ryan Edwards years. I was working with Ryan at 104.3 The Fan. So you went Elvis Doomerville, and then I, as you just kind of walked in here or just joined, Paul, I did Simon Fletcher. And for anybody that does not know and really values, Broncos history, I have the top 2 sack artists in Broncos history.
That's fine.
Now, inside linebacker. Let's see here.
Damn, you get the first pick on inside linebacker?
Do you want to do 2 on this one?
No, we can keep that 1.
Okay. Another Hall of Famer. And frankly, I am so glad he's in the Hall of Fame now. We're going to roll with Randy Gradishar.
Yeah. That was an easy pick.
Randy Gradishar, numero uno for inside linebacker.
All right. Well, I kind of figured that was going to be the pick, so I went with the, in my opinion, the second best, and that would be Carl Mecklenburg.
I actually hate you because if there was ever a chance we did 2, I was hoping you wouldn't do that because Carl Mecklenburg, for anybody that doesn't know, and
the albino rhino,
but he played everywhere. Like he kind of like was the Micah Parsons, if you will, of those years. Where like he played everywhere, and man, he was so fun to watch. I have two autographs of his. So yeah, he's a genuine human being. So that's a great pick. He's another one, by the way. Carl Mecklenburg's another one who is on a very short list of people that need to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And so then you went with Carl Mecklenburg. You know what? Since mainly Broncos is nothing but breaking rules, We're going to do 2
For linebacker?
for inside linebacker.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to go Al Wilson.
Ah. Okay.
Which probably means we should do 2 defensive linemen or something.
All right, you're gonna go Al Wilson.
You're going to do it? BK's like it forcing you to.
I mean, it wouldn't be like surprising that I take the guy out of the U again. So give me DJ Williams.
Are you going to do it?
Yep, gives him.
He is actually probably one of the more underrated linebackers of Broncos. Actually, this is my take. I don't know about you. That 2011 defense by the Broncos is not talked about enough. Because I think it's actually for me at least, I think it's like the second at least in the top 5 of like best Bronco defenses of all time. For how good it was. So, and a lot of that was just because we were at such a high too, and getting the chance of finally seeing Brian Dawkins in a Broncos uniform for safety and stuff. So, okay, so you went DJ Williams.
I have 3 UM players and 1 guy from Miami on my team. This is awesome.
Is it awesome, or is it just really biased scouting?
No. So next is the defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman, you got this one.
All right. So with my defensive lineman, I'm going to go with. I just had his name here. Where is his name? Why is my thing acting up? I'm gonna go with Trevor Price.
It's a good one. It's a great one, actually. Versatile player. Trevor Price. You're gonna play him at defensive tackle, or you're gonna play him at defensive end?
D tackle, because I have someone for DN.
Okay. So let's see. We'll go. We actually will start with. I will start with the D end.
Okay.
Lyle Alzado. We'll go with Lyle Alzado.
Ring of Famer?
He is a Ring of Famer. So we basically will have Alzado and Simon Fletcher and Von Miller on the team.
All right. So since you get back-to-back, who's going to be your D tackle?
Man. Let's see. So I went Lyle Alzado. And then...
Because I already have my defensive end.
Well, let's see. This is weird. My Google search is going crazy right now. Where I can't even do anything.
Well, since you're going to pick D tackle and I'm going defensive end, I'm just going to say my guy, which just got leaked in the chat. But I will be going with Derek Wolfe as my defensive end.
Okay. You know what? We'll go with Malik Jackson with that other one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We'll go with Malik Jackson. Which, so by the way, speaking of what ifs of not letting Malik Jackson walk. Okay, so Malik Jackson, and then you went with Derek Wolf.
So 2 corners or 1?
And the way this is going, probably 2 corners.
All right, let's go. We're for sure gonna split.
Yeah.
Our 2 top corners. So
And so, let's see. That's Derek Wolf. Do you want me to go?
well, it's technically supposed to be my pick.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go with the one and the only Pat Surtain
Okay.
as my cornerback 1.
Which means I will go with Champ Bailey. And you go with Pat Surtain.
I want to see who you double up here with Champ.
Mm-hmm. I know that's the tricky part. Because, like, that's the thing is, like, man. You know what? Champ Bailey and Aqib Talib.
All right. I was thinking you were going to go the other way, but I'll still take him. So you go Aqib Talib, I'll go Chris Harris.
So you are going to go Harris.
I am.
So you're in essence fine with him playing boundary.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went with Chris Harris Jr.
Riley Moss. I'm just kidding.
What a world that would have been. Like they do move on from him, and all of a sudden he becomes like a top 12 corner in the league. Now, safety.
So this will be my pick. And my first safety, which again, I will take him, because I do think he is the best safety the Broncos have had. But I know your pick already. But I will be going with Steve Atwater.
Okay.
You get to double up on the safeties here, which I already know one of them. I just want to know who the other one is.
Yeah. Okay, so you went with the heat-seeking missile.
Mine's gonna shock people. I don't think you're gonna take him.
So anybody that doesn't know, I'm going to go with Dennis Smith. I will go with Dennis Smith, and obviously it's kind of been spoiled in the chat. We'll go with Justin Simmons. And Justin Simmons is, full disclosure, that is more of a biased pick for me. So I think Justin is one of those players that had things have gone right for the Broncos in those years. He's one of those players that is still in that tier that with Garrett Bowles and Cortland that you just wish that there was. Yeah, you just wish that there were some years where they were really successful, and not just his 2016 year, which was his first year, if you will, or 2017 year, which was his first year, where I think where they went like 9-7 or something like that, or whatever. So, yeah, you just wish he was a little bit or had the chance to see more success there. There's some other really good choices though, like.
Which they're being spoiled in the chat, which I love what's happening in the chat right now because they're talking about one of my guys. Now, I was considering John Lynch, and I do understand this sentiment. But also, John Lynch was a Pro Bowler every single year that he was here. So, I mean, he was here for 4 seasons as well. So, you know, he is considered a Bronco. I know he's known for his time with the Bucs, but you know he is a Bronco as well. So but I would not be taking John Lynch. And ironically enough, I am taking a guy that played actually fewer seasons than him. He only played 3 seasons in Denver, but he was a Pro Bowler twice, and he was even an All-Pro in his very first season with Denver. And I get to pair up Steve Atwater with Brian Dawkins.
Yeah.
Oh, my. So Brian Dawkins might.
The run defense and fines that would be jacking up with that safety room.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's Brian Dawkins is on a really short list of players that's my underrated players of Broncos history. For as short of a time that he was there, like, he really was everything that I would have wanted as far as a signing. And so for as much as it was only 2 years, right? You know, I mean, he still was on that John Lynch conversation where he played so well. And I think that Dawkins, it's one of the reasons why that 2011 team for me is just should be well regarded as a top like defense in Broncos history and should be rightfully getting more consideration, Jordan, because because like the way that he played, I mean, he was just ferocious. And he also, yes, to BK's point, he has one of the best nicknames of all time when it comes to football and Weapon X. So yeah.
Yeah. So
I did hear about the sleeves story, and by the way, I think Simmons also went on record too in saying he had no ill will for Sean and everything. But that I did hear that story, and that was really interesting. But I think it also kind of goes to show you kind of how hard nosed a little bit Sean is.
Yeah.
But I think, and also in that same conversation or in another episode, he also said he frankly respected a lot of the hard-nosed coaching from Sean. So you went Steve Atwater and Brian Dawkins. I actually really like that.
There we go. So there we go. We got our team.
So we have our team. So to recap, Peyton Manning, Clinton Portis, Rod Smith, Brandon Marshall, Julius Thomas, Gary Zimmerman, Dan Neal, Tom Nalen, Louis Vasquez, Orlando Franklin, Andy Janovich, and then Elvis Dumerville, DeMarcus Ware, Carl Mecklenburg, DJ Williams, Trevor Price, Derek Wolfe, PS2, Chris Harris Jr., Steve Atwater, Brian Dawkins. John Elway, Terrell Davis, DT, Lionel Taylor, Shannon Shaw, Brian Clady, Mark Schlereth, Matt Paradis, Quinn Miners, Matt Lepsis, and then Howard Griffith on offense, and then Vaughn, Simon Fletcher, Randy Gradishar, Al Wilson, Lyle Alzado, Malik Jackson, and then Champ Bailey and Aqib Talib, and then Dennis Smith and Justin Simmons.
There you go.
Another, as we're kind of having the safeties conversation, another one of those that's I think really I think another one of those, like when you kind of talk about safeties is, you have to pay honorable mention on some of those, for as much as the 2015 defense is the best defense of all time, you have to also pay respects to guys like TJ Ward and Darian Stewart. Darian Stewart is one specifically that is in that conversation of underrated players in Broncos history. You want to talk about a player that everybody talked about, TJ Ward, when it came to the physical presence and everything. But I mean, like, Darian Stewart would just randomly just like pop off and have this like massive hit, like every just every once in a while, like he would, like every third game or fourth game, he would really pop off like for a really huge hit, and it'd be like, whoa, where did that come from? Like honestly, the one game truly, and of all things, it's not a it's not a 2015 thing, but it's one where it's like that I remember so well, and it's the Saints game of all things, where he had 3 interceptions that game, and then immediately following that game, that's when they signed him to a 3-year extension. You know, so all right, I'm actually liking the ideas in the chat right now, Jordan. I don't know if you've been seeing this, like asking, did we do coach yet or OC and DC? What are you feeling?
We could do it real quick. We can do it real quick.
So who gets the first nod? Coach.
Me.
Okay.
Head coach, Mike Shanahan.
Head coach Kyle Shanahan. And then let's see here. Do I really have to do it? I really don't know if I want to do it.
You do it.
Oh man. We'll go Cougs.
All right.
There's something about the Reeves-Elway relationship, and also would have been quite hysterical to have John Elway in her team and Reeves as her head coach. Knowing the fact they hated each other.
Yeah.
So we'll go with Gary Kubiak.
All right.
I
like Mike Shanahan with my team.
All right. As much as I think I would have loved, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, that's too much detail. I love the idea though. I think I probably, for offensive coordinator. I think I probably would say defensive coordinator will probably be Wade Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd imagine. But I think the OC one is tricky.
Can you pencil Vic Fangio for DC?
Well, it depends on how you qualify it, because I was trying to see if I could go that route, Paul, with Sean, but it's still a little bit early in the process. The early results have been really positive, though, and frankly, what you'd expect, I'd say. But I think there's also a difference. We're talking about like the Broncos versus NFL. NFL history, Sean is widely regarded as one of the best NFL coaches of all time. But for the Broncos and just the Broncos, it's kind of an interesting one where it's like, well, I don't know. And the Dan Reeves, honestly, thinking about if I actually would have picked Dan Reeves with John Elway at quarterback, I probably would have been flamed in the chat. Now thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I like my team. So we'll see if we can get this thing, done, if you will. So personally, we are dog walking Jordan. Yeah. Like in a best of 7 series, in a best of 7 series, we are sweeping the floor with him. I mean, he went with the biased route of having Miami players, even people from Miami, no logic whatsoever. And then myself, we went with a little bit of some chemistry, with a little bit of some some youth on the team. So
chemistry. My offensive line got chemistry. It's all.
So
that was fun though. That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, definitely. I was kind of worried it was going to be a little bit long, and we were going to be hitting like over 2 hours. And those things can be a little bit brutal. But yeah, like we said, we'll see if we can tweet it out as far as the, who had the best roster. And it may be due to the fact that because I have the ability to tweet a little bit longer than. What is it, the 280 characters? Maybe what I'll do is if we can't be able to do it, I'll tweet it out, and then we'll say who has the best roster. And then we'll let the public decide. So it was great. Thank you guys for everybody that was hopping on. Thank you for your input, Jordan. It was a blast. Put you on the spot. What do you want to talk about next week?
Next week, we are going to talk about I don't know.
See, it's a dead period.
It is a dead period. You are right. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. For Jordan, myself, this has been another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for the Mainly Broncos YouTube page and the MHRT Network YouTube page. There is a join feature that is on the MHRT Network page. There's different levels of the stuff that you can choose, which is basically $2.99, $6.99, and $12.99. So you guys can basically select anything that you guys feel the most comfortable with. And also follow the guys. Follow myself, Cameron Parker PO. Follow Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez. And follow Mainly Broncos at Mainly Broncos. And of course, Brandon was not here tonight. So make sure you follow him at Brandon Miller PO. So thank you guys so much. And, obviously we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the third best quarterback in Broncos history.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame miles. So high.